What are the salient
Thank you, sir.
features of Indian Constitution?
The Indian Constitution is the biggest constitution in the world, and it incorporates the features like the federal form of government that we adopted and the parliamentary form of democracy through indirect representation of the elected representatives. And fundamental rights and DPSPs are the two essential features which ensures the right of the citizen, and the DPSP acts as the guiding principles for the public policy. And sir, it is amendable through Article 368. There is a detailed approach given for its amendability, so it is not a rigid constitution. And sir, there are institutional setups are being provided through the constitution, like the Election Commission of India. And for the protection of rights of minority, there is National Commission for Scheduled Caste for backward classes, and special provisions for the STs and STs are given in the Schedule 5th and Schedule 6th of the Constitution. Sir, one unique feature is the third tier of government is provided in Constitution.
Now tell me, when the Indian Constitution was being written, did we draw from the constitution of other countries?
Yes, sir. We adopted just from the other countries.
What are those countries? What are the
like fundamental?
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, the fundamental rights were adopted from the US Constitution, and the DPSPs are from Irish Constitution, and the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity, they are adopted from French Constitution. The concurrent list is adopted from Australian Constitution. The federal nature, we took it from on the lines of Canadian Constitution. Sir, we adopted these features and we modified it as per the need and the needs of our own country, sir. It means it is not a copy paste.
Okay, now let us come to your last assignment. You are an automobile engineer. How do you rate the automobile industry of India as compared to other countries?
Sir, the Indian automobile sector has grown immensely in the last 3-4 decades, especially after the arrival of Maruti in India. And after that, it led to the manufacturing sector-led growth in India. And it now started exporting also for the other countries, like Maruti is exporting for other countries from its facility in Gurgaon and Manesar. The automobile sector has also led to the growth of ancillary and the tier 1 sectors to cater its supplier basis. So we now had local supplier base as well, which earlier was not the case. And sir, there is in-house R&D facilities are also being developed, like Mahindra is having its own, Tata is having its own R&D center in our own country. So it is not only manufacturing based or the assembly based now, it has diversified towards the R&D part also. And now, sir, we are also looking towards the automobile sector from the perspective of the niche segments or the higher class variants, like more than 20 lakh and 30 lakh segments. They are also being talked upon now in India, which earlier was limited to the lesser segment based upon the income capacity.
What can the government of India do to give a boost to the automobile sector in India?
Sir, from the policy point of view, the automobile sector needs a stable and some prolonged visionary time-based policy, because it requires some 4-5 years to launch one product. So that the manufacturers can plan in advance and in a well manner. From the customer's point of view, sir, we need some boost to the electric vehicle consumption. So for that, I think tax benefits will act as an incentive to start off the EV manufacturing and its consumption, along with the infrastructure. And same on the emission front line, we need to create R&D facility right from the colleges itself. The academic and industrial collaboration is also required.
And one of the drawbacks of giving a boost to the automobile sector is the addition to road accidents in the country. So, to improve road safety, what do you think should be done in the country?
Sir, first, the quality of roads, it is being talked mostly in India that they are not at par with the safety standards. The safety standards are more applied on the vehicles, and the road quality and trenches and ditches, they are more talked about. So on that aspect, we can put more accountability on the contractors so that they can maintain the road. And so the driver's behavior and its training, like only the licensed and those who pass the test, the speed limits, they should be followed in letter and spirit. And some punitive laws can be done and implemented on ground for the push. And in the long term, the behavioral changes are required for the drivers. And from the manufacturer's point of view, safety features like that anti-lock braking system, hill assist, and the safety bag, they can be made mandatory from the base model itself.
Rajiv ji?
Thank you.
Rajiv ji?
Yeah. Hello, Kamal, you can hear me?
Yes, sir. Sir, I can hear you.
Okay. So you opted for geography. Geography was your optional.
That's my option. Yes, sir. Geography was my option.
Was your optional. At the cost of repeating the question of the chairman, can I ask again to be specific on the popularity or the mass usage of electric vehicles? Why is it not taking off?
Sir, there are both demand and supply side challenges in the electric vehicles. As per my limited knowledge, when I was in Mahindra, I had attended some sessions on the e-mobility. Sir, the cost of battery is very high. Almost 50% cost is of battery. So some government push is required to go for mass level production so that overall cost will come down. And sir, the limitation is put by again battery that it can go up to a certain distance only. And we do not have the electric charging infrastructure all throughout the country equally accessible to the drivers. So these two are the challenges, and sir, the stability that we need in the automobile sector policy.
Okay. So tell me, you had in your 12th class, you had music as one of the subjects. You studied music.
Yes, sir. It was in my class 10th, sir. Theory part only.
So you did not develop a liking for it to continue with it?
Sir, it was just from the theory perspective and taught for very limited period in the school. And at that time, I had very limited understanding about its future prospects. But I look forward to develop it because
You have muted, yeah. Okay. Now tell me, what is the forest cover? What is the ideal forest cover for India, for instance? What is the ideal forest cover? How much should we have under the forest?
Sir, the environmentalist idea of the forest cover is about 33%, or the 1/3 of the total geographic area should be the forest cover.
How much do we have?
So it is approximately 22.5%.
Which are the areas, which are the geographical areas or states falling short of it?
Sir, my own state, Haryana, Rajasthan, and the hilly areas, which are desert, cold desert areas, and the Maharashtra, the interior Marathwada, Vidarbha region, the plateau regions of uh, Telangana, sir, they are deficit in forest cover.
Okay. Now, how many states are touched by the Tropic of in the Indian context? Which line touches the Indian continent? Tropic of Cancer, Capricorn, or Equator?
Sir, it is the Tropic of Cancer that passes through India.
How many states does it touch? Roughly?
There are seven states.
7 states. Yeah, you're right. Okay. What do we do about the geothermal energy? Does it look promising?
Sir, the geothermal energy is the renewable source of energy that we can tap from the Earth's interior. But there are challenges to tap it, like its location is far away from its point of application and usage. So, sir, the losses are very high and the economic viability is not assured. So, we are not going much towards it.
Do you think our response to the global warming is good enough? Our country, I mean.
Sir, from the individual nation's point of view, India is doing much better, and it is the only country among G20 nations that is on the track of meeting the Paris Climate Deal targets. So, if we go by that, we are doing well.
What is the track record of US and China?
Sir, they are the two biggest emitters, and their per capita emissions are also very high. But China had started doing its own part, but still it is not yet on the path of 2 degrees Celsius target. And sir, USA is also not looking very promising to follow it, and not also helping the developing world, so that the common but differentiated responsibility principle can be taken. And they are historically, USA is historically one of the largest emitters. The burnt is borne by the developing world right now.
What do you think is the problem area in the urban-rural divide? How do you view the urban-rural divide in the Indian context?
Urban-rural divide is in the form of availability of infrastructure and the basic amenities availability. Uh, the urban areas are well equipped as compared to the rural areas in terms of electricity, in terms of the health facilities available to them. For example, the more than 70% of the curative healthcare is in the urban centers right now. And sir, the another is the local source of livelihoods. They are much more in the urban areas as compared to the rural areas. And the educational prospects, the better educational prospects are highly concentrated in the urban areas. So there is a need of migration for this better social and economic needs of the rural people. They usually migrate to the urban centers. And sir, the new divide is the digital divide.
Digital divide, you would say. Are you aware of the RTI, Right to Information Act?
Yes, sir, I'm reasonably aware about.
Okay. Are there any restrictions on sharing information under the RTI? Does it provide some protection to the CPIOs, the Central Public Information Officers, not to share the information with the public or to the questioner?
Yes, sir, there is a section devoted to it that in some special cases, the information can be held back.
Yeah.
Like when it thwarts the privacy of the person who's information is being revealed and the larger public interest is not involved.
Or the life of the individual is affected or something.
Yes.
Those provisions are there, you're right. But anyway, why has the Citizens Charter not taken off the way it was intended to? Citizens Charter.
Sir, Citizen Charter was put as the responsibility of the respective departments and the offices where the public services are delivered. Uh, it Some of the departments have declared and even put it on their public website and the offices, but citizens are not itself aware about the Citizen Charter. And sir, the legal obligations are not put. Like if someone is not delivering as per the Citizens Charter, they will not be held accountable or punished. So, in my opinion, this is the reason that it has not taken up in the spirit that was thought of.
You have worked in the private sector, now you wish to enter the public sector, the government sector. Have you sensitized yourself about the work environment in the two sectors? Does it look more attractive to you, the government sector?
Sir, I had experience in Mahindra about the work culture and the work experience, but personal experience of the government sector I had not achieved until now. But my choice is not based upon the existing work environment. I believe that as long as I am able to love my work, or it is not becoming a burden upon me, I think one can work anywhere where they are.
But they say you can take quicker decisions in the private sector. Here you are bogged down by rules, regulations, acts, so many things compelling you not to act fast, not to take decisions. If you do take decisions, you get into some sort of trouble. You have not. It doesn't deter you from looking at the government as a good option.
Sir, it is required to follow the law and the regulations in the government sector because the stakeholders are the uh, common citizens. Their rights are being affected and there are multiple stakeholders. While in the private sector, it is the organization only and their requirements or the stakeholders are much lesser. Sir. And there are also laws that we do abide in the private sector as well. So I think there is a similarity also in both of them. Sir.
The International Energy Agency, they brought out a India Energy Outlook 2012, 2021. Are you aware of what it is and what it seeks to do?
Sir, I read about it, but I'm not in depth uh, knowledge about it. Sir.
Solar energy, how far we have succeeded?
Sir, the target has set for 475 gigawatt by 2030, which is a very ambitious target. But right now, we are somewhere around 50-60 gigawatt, and we are rapidly pacing it up through the schemes. Sir, the rooftop potential has not been yet properly utilized until now. And the problem part is that the local availability of the solar PV cell and their viability in terms of cost, they are being addressed. And I believe that we will be able to achieve it.
What is the Jal Jeevan mission? Jal Jeevan mission. It was mentioned in the union budget. Sorry, yeah. Continue, please. Continue.
Sir, Jal Jeevan mission is about the water availability for the drinking water availability for the rural mass. It was started first, but in the budget it was also extended to the urban households, the functional household tap water connection. And later on, sir, the focus is also upon the rainwater harvesting and preventing the wastage of it. So that the pure potable water is available to the households.
Okay. My last question would be, on the your guiding in your extracurricular activities. You mentioned guiding on career and academics. Is that a formal thing that you
Yes,
do?
sir. I do it in my free times.
Is there a
No,
formal
sir.
institution through which
It
you
is
do
my
this?
interest, sir, that I do out of my interest.
So, but whom do you, I mean, how do
No,
you get your
I
target
do it out of my interest to my juniors.
in your company?
Sir,
If you're,
there are my college juniors. Sir, I started it for my college juniors when I was in my college. So there were
what do you
doubts
keep in
regarding the
mind?
choice of the elective subject.
What do you keep in mind when you are mentoring these persons, your juniors?
Sir, my sole motive is to show them the
You've lost him. You've lost.
Sir, I try to show them the perspectives of all the sides, whatever they are asking for, so that they can make an informed decision. I show them the long-term perspective or how an
पंखा जरा धीरे कर दो, इमेज हिलती है मेरी.
Am I audible, sir?
Now you are. Yeah, please complete the answer. Kamal, please
Sir,
complete your answer.
I show them the broader perspectives and the challenges and the opportunities in each of their choices that they are going to make. Sir, like I told to my juniors about opting for refrigeration in the 7th semester and air conditioning in the 8th semester, so that they can opt for the master's course in thermal engineering, and it has also uses in the automobile sector and the manufacturing industry for refrigeration and air conditioning. So, sir, few of them has opted it, despite it being a tough subject.
Okay, that's a very noble thing you are doing. That's a very noble thing you are doing. My last question to you: are you aware of the CSR rules, corporate social responsibility? Your company did your company do a corporate social responsibility activity anywhere? Were you associated with it? Mahindra, I mean.
Sir, yes, sir, my company is engaged in the CSR activity, and I was associated with one of the activities, sir.
Has there been a shift in the CSR? Has there been a major amendment to the rules? 2021.
Yes, sir, there are changes made in the CSR rules, like the violation is no more a criminal offense, now it is a civil offense. And sir, if they are not spending the required amount, that can be given to the government funds also, like the PM Care Fund has also taken some funding from the CSR activities. And sir, the problems like that, it was earlier concentrated in the health and education in the local areas only. So now they are allowed to spend outside their local areas also.
A major criticism has been that they do not factor in aspirational districts. Is it true? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. They are targeting the areas which are nearby to them, and there is some institutional setup established. So you are right.
Thank you. Arvind Mohan Saab.
So, good afternoon, Kamal.
Good afternoon, sir.
You are a student of geography. So, tell me something about the geography of your district, Mahendragarh.
Sir, Mahendragarh district lies in the southwest part of Haryana. It is a part of Aravalli floodplain, and the soil is largely alluvial soil, and the climate type is semi-arid, arid type with an annual rainfall of 40 to 45 centimeters, largely in the months of June and July and August also nowadays. And western disturbances helps in the winter, that is called as Mahavat in our local language. And so the major crops grown are bajra, cotton, and wheat and mustard in the Rabi season.
So it's more like Rajasthan
Yes, sir.
rather than
It is
Haryana.
very, yes, sir. It is very near to Rajasthan, sir. It shares border with Rajasthan.
Recently, you were talking about Maruti, how it has expanded. Recently, Haryana government introduced a law that all companies there which are located in Haryana, they have to have a reservation for local people. So, what's your view on that? Will it actually help the local people of Haryana?
Sir, in my opinion, that would be a retrograding step, both for the locals as well as the industrial expansion. Maruti has already seeking land somewhere else outside Haryana for its expansion. And sir, basically, if the local youth is not skilled and they are not empowered with the soft skills and their marketing knowledge, so they cannot be hired and they cannot be worked up to their efficiency. And the band that is put by the government of 50,000 salary limit, that also include the managerial levels. So that much of the manpower and that much requirement of the skills at the local scale that may not be available for the companies, and that may be a retrograde step for them, sir.
Basically, the law is guided by the fact that there is widespread unemployment,
Yes. Okay.
especially in the rural sector now. So, what could have been a better choice, in your opinion, rather than doing this?
Sir, like support, sir, there can be two-way approach for this. One is for supporting the local youth based upon the block level assessment of the unemployment and employment data. Because, sir, South Haryana, my own district, is having no local industrial base. So, such kind of reasons can be adopted for the primary sector industries like the agro-based industries and like the cattle feed or the poultry feed. Self-employment can be looked towards as well, like in the services sector, the driving, the cloth machinery and the tailoring also. So these two ways approach can be taken, and the skilling centers like the ITIs can be used directly for that. So the other option, when I was in Mahindra, I worked for 1.5 months in Haridwar. There I saw in the Mahindra plant for 2 years, the ITI guys are hired by Mahindra for 2 years. They make them well trained in all the parts of the assembly so that they can start their own garage and they work after that. So that was the floating labor concept. Mahindra got the tax incentive for that. So that can also be adopted as an alternative.
Okay, everybody talks when it comes to agriculture, everybody talks that rural agri industry must be given a boost, it will help. Everybody says that. But what are the reasons that industrialists, they are not entering into it in a big way?
Sir, the raw material availability is surplus, but it is not with one farmer. So the industrialists are facing a problem like to whom they contact. So for that, FPOs has been started, the farm producer organization, but they are very mature stage right now. And the second thing is about how to push the farmers to go away from the cereal crops, because from a long period of time they are very much attached to the cereal crops. And sir, like vegetables and fruits, they require a long gestation period. Fruits, especially the horticulture part, on which the agriculture industry depends much. So that also requires the income incentives to be given to the farmer, because they cannot wait without income for 4 or 5 years. So I think these are the bigger the starting push is required in that sense.
So basically, the farm laws that were introduced by the government, they try to address many of the problems which you are telling right now.
Yes, sir.
But what is their reason that farmers are opposing it because the government was trying to help the farmers only, but farmers are only opposing. Where lies the problem?
Sir, the big farmers, especially in the north and northeast Haryana, they are very actively opposing it because, sir, they had a fear or they are misinformed opinion that government will stop procuring their products at MSP and they will lose out upon that stand. And sir, some the middlemen are also supporting their motive because middlemen act as a soft loan provider to the farmers. All their needs of marriage, their fertilizers and seeds, they all are funded by the middlemen. Sir. So I think these are the reasons they are opposing towards it.
That's
But
a
they can be done
very
away.
sorry to interrupt. That's a very valid reason you put up, that middleman is also a sort of local bank for the farmer. Now, how this thing could have been addressed simultaneously? Because once the, as the now government is saying, direct credit of the whatever has been purchased without involving the middleman. So naturally, middleman will no longer be giving the loans also. So what steps could have been taken simultaneously with these farm laws to mitigate this kind of a thing?
Sir, first point is that the direct benefit transfer that also started in Punjab from this year onwards. It is a positive step. And sir, the institutional credit mechanism is still that 28% of the farmers they borrow from the money lenders from their village, and that needs to be made 100% from the bank, especially the regional rural bank. And sir, the irrigation infrastructure and the crop failure, the insurance that the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana has started. Sir, government can take upon the part of the premium for some years so that more and more farmers get involved and they will have no fear of losing their output after that. Sir, parallelly, government should also make the alternative markets outside the APMCs because if they are not developed, then I think
That's what
that
the
talked
government
about
was.
that outside the regulated markets.
Yeah, that's what the government was trying to do, setting up of alternate
Yes,
markets
sir.
and all, but it has been
Yes,
thwarted
sir.
somewhere. You brought in
Yes, sir.
two very important points. Availability of credit, they are forced to go to money lenders. And another was your insurance part. So it brings us to another very burning aspect of this farm loan waivers. Because most of the banks, why they are not financing now is because they have already made so many loans which are not coming back. So what's your take on this farm loan waivers, which every government, every political party, right from the start of election, the first thing they promise is that we will waive all the farm loans.
Sir, I think that farm loan waiving is not a very positive idea. It can be used as one-time measure in the rarest circumstances when there is regular failure of the crops. But it has become a practice that is very unfortunate.
We lost him. So Kamal, are you back?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please continue with your answer because you were not there for some time.
Sir, the farmer income right now there is
You're not audible. You're not audible. You're not audible. I think you should disconnect and connect again. No. I would suggest that you disconnect and connect again and stop your video so that at least we are able to listen.
Am I audible now? Hello. Am I audible now?
Yes, please continue.
Sir, to avoid the situation of farm loan waivers, government can work upon diversifying the farmers' income away from the crops. Right now, there is large dependence upon the crops itself. The right sector can be developed, like the animal husbandry and the beekeeping in the winters, because the mustard flowers, they are very good to produce nectar and quality honey. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, I would suggest you stop your video for some time because your bandwidth is low.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. I have done that. Thank you, sir.
Now
Sir,
you can
the
respond.
farmers' activities and the source of income. Sir, farmers' income sources can be diversified to the allied sectors apart from the crops, so that the rural income can be augmented and they can do this. And the crop choices should be as per the agroclimatic zones. Like, sir, paddy is being grown in Punjab. It is not only harming the environment, it is also making the income of the future generation through that. And due to that, sir, the crop failure can be reduced by making right crop choices. And the input cost can be further reduced by giving the direct benefit transfers in much more targeted manner, so that the income will again get increased and loans can be paid off on time, sir. And the weather forecasting should reach the especially the extension part of the information. This is grossly lacking for the farmers in the rural India. They solely rely upon the vendors of the seeds for the quality of seed, the timing of sowing, the amount of fertilizers, which is not scientific always, sir. I think these three, four measures can address the problem of crop failures, and eventually the loans can be paid up on time.
Oh, fine, thank you. Rai, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Kamal,
Yes, sir.
I wish you had put the camera a little further away from yourself so that we could see you. I mean, your movement of the hands and all we could see, and we could suggest something on that. Uh, anyway, you have in your DAF, I don't think you have put specs on that in that picture that you have put there in your photograph. Specs is
Yes,
not
sir.
there.
Specs are not there, sir.
So okay. So what you need to do is on the date of interview, when you go to the UPSC, you take a recent photograph of yourself, 4 copies, you and hand it over, 2 of them to the office, so they put it on record. Okay, you need
Okay,
to
sir.
do that. Okay, okay. Now, uh, on specifics, see, you mentioned when you were elaborating on the constitution, you said you offered to suggest that it is not a rigid constitution. Nobody put that question to you. We were just asking you the nature of the constitution. So you should avoid using a negative term. For instance, then the next question would be, what is a rigid constitution? Which countries practice rigid constitution? That way. So you just go about elaborating the nature of the constitution without attributing specific attributes like a negative constitution or whatever. Now, when you have answered many questions, you normally do not give the government side point of view. You should also, for instance, on that job restrictions in Haryana, the government has a point of view. I mean, whether we accept it, don't accept it, whether you agree with it, don't agree with it, but their point of view also should be brought on record. So when you are answering, it will look more balanced if you give the point of view of, I mean, that what you were saying, but also the government has a point of view. Just describe it, leave it to that.
Okay.
Okay. So it looks as a very balanced sort of approach and balanced answer coming from a prospective civil servant. Suppose you are made the secretary of a department, you will be expected to look at both the aspects, not only one part of it. Second, third, when you were answering the question on RTI, go through it again. You did mention that there is a section, but you failed to mention the section on it. It's a very simple
So it
thing.
was section 8, sir. Section 8 and section 4.
Yes, it is. It is. So I would have expected, if you had said this, I would have, just so that it shows your confidence in the reading of the act to the board. Okay.
I'll remember.
And in 2-3 places, I have not mentioned it specifically here, but I did expect you to give government data on it. You described it. You gave a very comprehensive answer. You gave a very balanced answer. Give some data also from the government side that is available everywhere. But you must quote the data that the government proposes to give on everything as far as possible. It gives a very positive approach to your answer and to your own personality also. Okay. Arvind Saab, take over.
So, Kamal, I fully agree with what Rai Saab has said, that you have to take a balanced view in all your answers. For example, in the example quoted by him, you took just you ignored what the government had. The reasons the government had in mind when they introduced that. Similarly, when we were talking about farm loan waivers, at that time, you simply ignored the concerns that the farmers have. So you have to take a balanced view in your answers. Okay. And you did mention about FPIs, but the problem is that FPIs have not been made fully functional. A problem has been that
very mature state.
They are not in very mature state at the moment. Had they been in a very mature state, the FPIs, probably we would not having this problem that we have today.
Yeah.
So that was a thing which you could have included in your answer. And since you can expect a lot of questions on your Haryana when you are being interviewed, for example, the role of your Khap Panchayats, that is also something which comes to everybody's mind when Haryana comes. So you have to be prepared on that aspect also. I did not ask a question on that. And of course, since you are from an agriculture background, many questions from agriculture are going to be there for you. Okay. So otherwise it was okay, but sometimes we could not hear you properly. So some of the answers, I am not able to comment very much on that. But otherwise it was a good interview, and I think you should do well in the actual interview. Neeraj sir.
Thank you.
Yes, Kamal, your mock interview was severely handicapped because of poor connectivity. But nonetheless, you come across as a very well-informed, knowledgeable candidate with information on a wide array of subjects. So to that extent, you have come across as a good civil servant to take. One or two small things I would like to tell you. One is you maintain a very glum appearance throughout. You are very serious. Try to look a little more cheerful, a little more relaxed, and instead of speaking in a monotonous way, try to vary the pitch of your delivery. I know it's not very easy to acquire this, but there is still some time before the actual interview will take place. So when you are speaking, try to modulate your voice a bit. Otherwise, it's like very, very monotonous. and you don't put adequate emphasis on important points when you're making them. So this is one suggestion we would give you. And the other suggestion is that if you look a little more relaxed, a little more cheerful, you will come across as a more positive person to deal with. Otherwise, you have done well despite the handicap of poor connectivity, and we wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Kamal. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
You can leave.
Thank you.
So now we are meeting at 2:30.
Yes, sir.
2:30. Okay.
2:30.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.